So over 30 years ago, Sonic the Hedgehog has graced many gamers' lives all around the world. I love Sonic, not only as a series, but as a character. He's blue, which is my favorite color, he's got a cocky attitude, and he's just overall just plain cool. It's taken a while for me to realize, but I think Sonic just might be my favorite video game franchise of all time. I've not only played the video games, but I've also experienced the cartoons, the comics, and the community. The latter for the better or worse. Anybody who loves Sonic always has something to talk about. I can go on and on about the Blue Blur, but I figure if I'm going to start talking about him, why not start off with the game that made him an icon? The original Sonic the Hedgehog for the Sega Genesis, or Mega Drive if you live in Japan or Europe. Now over the years, this game has been ported to multiple consoles. Give it a couple of months and soon you'll be playing the Christian Whitehead version on your toaster. Hopefully. Now sometime last year on Sonic Central, Sega announced that they're coming out with a new Sonic compilation called Sonic Origins, which will include the original Sonic 1 and the other Sega Genesis Sonic titles. Rumor has it that we might be receiving the Taxman versions of the game. But let's get into the history of this game. In the late 1980s, Nintendo and Sega were competing for home shelves. The Nintendo Entertainment System was trouncing the Sega Master System in terms of worldwide sales. The NES was a huge success partially due to Nintendo's mascot Mario. Meanwhile, Sega had a mascot for their Master System named Alex Kidd, but he just wasn't popular enough to compete. And with the Super Nintendo on the horizon, Sega thought that it was time for a new mascot. A young designer named Naoto Oshima went to the drawing board and created some new characters. In the end, he decided to go for a hedgehog. Oshima decided to take the project to his fellow worker Yuji Naka to help him program the game. Both worked together prior with Phantasy Star. Both were inspired by speedrunning levels from the original Super Mario Bros. And decided to go for speed as the main concept. Then in June of 1991, Sonic the Hedgehog was released on the Sega Genesis or Master System for you Japanese and Europeans out there, and Sonic became a huge hit. Besides the fact that he was faster than any platformer at the time, he was just so much cooler, he had a lot of attitude, and he was just plain awesome. Sonic at the end just had a lot more going for him than Alex Kidd ever could. Poor guy. I know he tried. Truth be told, I'd never heard of the Master System or Alex Kidd until I discovered the internet. But what makes Sonic the Hedgehog so appealing? What was it that made him a household icon that he is today? What makes him have such a rabid and annoying fan base that we're not going to talk about because this video is solely focusing on the original Sonic the Hedgehog? Let's begin. Now the story for this game is pretty simple. Sonic 1 is about a blue hedgehog with the ability to run at super speed that lives on an island called South Island. One day, an evil genius named Dr. Robotnik, or Dr. Eggman in Japan, has invaded the land and captured the local animals and places them in capsules and in the scientists' robots, the Badniks. Noble Sonic takes it upon himself to stop the madman from taking over the island and must save his friends from being under mind control. Now I should mention that both the American and Japanese continuities for Sonic the Hedgehog are quite different, but for the review's sake, I'm going to be focusing on what I know. Sonic 1 plays like your traditional 2D platformer, with the main exception being that he runs fast. Sonic's speed allows him to gain momentum the more you keep running. When he starts moving, he takes off slow, but as he goes, he picks up speed pretty quickly. Physics plays a key point in how to control Sonic. He has the ability to roll into a ball. In fact, he rolls while jumping and on the ground. The level design for most stages contain loops, hills, and slopes that Sonic can take advantage of. Rolling him into a ball down hills and slopes builds speed and allows him to launch off of them, skyrocketing further into the level or onto higher areas. It's so satisfying, even if it's mostly spectacle. Scattered throughout every level are rings, which serve as your source of health. Rings are the most essential items as they're basically insurance. If you take a hit, your rings will scatter across the screen, leaving you to pick them back up. If you happen to collect a lot of rings and take a hit, you're more than likely not going to get all of them back. If you are hit without a single ring, you lose a life and have to start from the beginning of the level or a checkpoint if you hit one earlier. Yes, there are checkpoints that are shaped like goalposts. These are very useful, as while some of the stages are short, other stages will be a little bit longer than usual and have many obstacles that will get on your nerves. Difficulty wise, I found Sonic 1 pretty easy, although if it's your first time it might be pretty challenging. Like any platformer, it's mostly just the amount of obstacles that will get in your way that will frustrate you. Like the coins in Mario, collecting 100 rings grants you an extra life. Another item to look out for within these stages are item boxes. Little computer monitors that, depending on the image, give Sonic a different reward. Hitting a ring item box will give Sonic 10 rings to add to his ring count. Hitting a shield item box will give Sonic a shield barrier, which allows him to take an extra hit without losing rings. Hitting one with stars gives Sonic temporary invincibility, coupled with an awesome remix of the title theme. And finally, hitting one with Sonic's face on it gives him an extra life. Getting to the end of a stage with 50 rings minus Scrap Brain Zone will grant you access to the special stages. You should see a giant ring at the end of the stage that you must jump into. Basically, you must roll your way through a rotating maze to collect the goal reward, a Chaos Emerald. You see, aside from capturing Sonic's friends, Robotnik is also looking for these mysterious gems called the 6 Chaos Emeralds. If he manages to get his mitts on them, it could lead into some serious trouble. To be honest, I don't really have a strong opinion on the special stages. Sometimes they can be fun to go through, other times not so much. Since the stage is constantly rotating, it can be a little bit tricky to maneuver Sonic. You have to jump constantly on platforms to make sure that you don't slip further away from your destination. Touching the ghost spheres will exit you out of the stage, losing your chance to get the Chaos Emerald. Collecting all 6 of them gives you the good ending, whereas missing one or more of them gives you the bad ending. It's not much, but it's a little nice reward if you're a completionist. Personally, I think the most rewarding item is the item box with Sonic's shoe on it that gives Sonic an extra boost of speed. Presentation wise, Sonic the Hedgehog is one of the most beautiful games on the Sega Genesis. Visually, everything just looks so aesthetically pleasing. I'd say it holds up pretty well against Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo. And we can't forget the music. Sonic has an amazing soundtrack. While this game in particular doesn't have my most favorite songs from the Sonic series, it's definitely one of the most memorable. Green Hill, of course, is a fan favorite, and it's a very good song, but I think my favorite just might be Starlight Zone. It's calm, it's peaceful, and has that nice, cozy nighttime vibe to it. Next would probably be the final zone. It fits so well with the final battle with Robotnik. This game has 6 zones with 3 acts each. At the end of Act 3, you face off against Robotnik. Despite good old Eggman being a lot more strategic than other platforming bosses, he's still pretty easy for the most part. Though your battle with him in Labyrinth Zone is not even a boss. You just follow him without dying. My favorite parts of this game are zones like Green Hill Zone and Starlight Zone. These 2 zones do the best job at displaying Sonic's momentum, speed, and physics. You're playing a platformer where building up speed is the reward, and that's how it should be. Stages are built with alternate routes. Top routes will likely use Sonic's more acrobatic moves, such as jumping on elevating platforms or using slopes, while the bottom route has a lot more obstacles you'll have to avoid. Ideally, you'll likely want to take the top path since there's a lot more room for speed as well. It gives the player freedom and a sense of exploration. Now, the biggest point of contention for this game is that there are not a lot of stages where you can go fast in. In fact, starting with the second zone, Marble Zone, the pacing becomes the exact opposite of what Green Hill was. You're mostly navigating through tight spaces, riding blocks through pits of lava, and avoiding and jumping on spiked chandeliers. The next zone, Springyard Zone. While it's fun to ride through the longest slopes of the game, there are often still dangerous obstacles that get in your way if you want to go fast. Labyrinth Zone is the biggest offender. Originally going to be Zone 2, the developers thought that players might find it too challenging and decided to push it back to Zone 4. The main gimmick is that you're underwater, which heavily slows down the pacing. And to make matters worse, Sonic cannot last underwater for so long, or else he'll drown. You'll either need to find your way out of the water, or best case scenario, find a giant air bubble to fill his lungs. But even outside the water, there are still a lot of booby traps that get in your way. And finally, Scrap Brain Zone is booby trap hell. You will not be going fast in this stage as there are so many obstacles and hurdles that will make you pull your hair out. For some reason, they decided to make Act 3 Labyrinth Zone Act 4. If you take the lower path though, you're not there for very long. And finally, you get to the final zone where you can finally face off against Robotnik and get your outright sweet revenge against him. You're stuck with no rings, but if you have a lot of patience, you could win this fight easily. Overall, I think the original Sonic the Hedgehog has aged rather well. There are still some issues with it, mostly in the game's pacing that makes you feel like you're playing a Mario game, but it's still a fun game to play to this day. If you're someone that's been looking to get into the series but is still unsure where to start from, I'd recommend this game. If you love 2D platformers like I do, Sonic just may stand out to you. If this game is fun enough to encourage you to play other entries in the series, it might not be your favorite since it still suffers from being the first entry. It's on so many consoles and mobile phones, hell even your toaster could probably play it. But anyway, thanks for watching this review and I will see you guys later.